The story started with an article on Platform X from an individual who exposed the wrongdoings of President Xi Jinping. Perhaps the story of the struggle for democracy in the Chinese environment has been very familiar for many decades. Measures to eliminate opposing opinions and factors that are not good for the party have become diverse and complex. Along with the development of technology and technological secrets, techniques that are not common to the public have been utilized to keep the security of the country. That is how the Chinese Communist Party justifies all of their actions. Every action has no moral limits. The author of the article affirms that he is a victim of this interference, and sends a message to his friends, who should pay attention to this issue if they encounter a similar phenomenon. At the end of May this year, I went to Xi'an, Guangdong to visit my son Niu Tingyu, who was unjustly sentenced to 14 years in prison. At the beginning of June, I returned home. My mood was no longer peaceful. Gas company threatens to cut off gas. China Unicom threatens to cut off internet. What happens next? On June 23, when all the lights were turned off and I was falling asleep like everyone else, I was suddenly awakened by a few screams, instinctively sat up, and then heard a few more children's screams, mixed with a grin, like a devilish grin in a TV series. I suddenly felt afraid of blood. From then on I couldn't close my eyes until 5 in the morning. At midnight on July 3rd, I was woken up again by a knock on the door. My heart rate accelerated, causing my heart disease to relapse. My sister, who takes care of my daily life, quickly gave me nitroglycerine drops and salvia miltiorizer. At midnight on July 24th, there was a lot of noise, including the sound of chairs being pulled, the sound of children crying, running, smashing. There are also various noises during lunch breaks after July 3rd. My body finally couldn't take it anymore. The nephrotic syndrome became more and more severe. My face, arms and legs were swollen, my whole body was shaking, sweating, my heart was pounding in my bony chest, my heart was shaking. Anger surged. The thought suddenly appeared in my mind that I should call the police. So I called the police. On July 27th, the city criminal police captain checked the roof and said that the surveillance area had no blind spots. They said they would check the community surveillance point to see if anyone went upstairs at midnight. I saved the video and gave the audio to a computer engineer. He said that this is an upgraded version of the floor vibrator, quite small and very difficult to find. It can be installed in air ducts, chimneys and placed in walls. Can also be operated remotely by mobile phone and can set timer, adjust volume to switch various sounds. This device can be customized according to needs. I suddenly remembered that the property manager, Wang Bing, installed a floor vibrator on the roof of my building in 2021. Most of the vibrations then were different from the sounds now, and had been harassing me for half a year. I called the police, and things have been quiet since I installed the camera on the roof. The author of the article suspects that there is coordination between the building management and outside forces. From the computer engineer's suggestion, the author went online to search for a suitable device and found unexpected results. Search with the keyword floor vibration device on Google or YouTube for detailed introduction. If searching in Chinese, open the Modong and mobile app on your mobile phone and enter floor vibrator, and the results show no related products. But if you reverse the order or add keywords like deal with upstairs neighbors, a large number of building shaking artifacts will appear on the screen. Currently, popular floor vibrators on the market range in price from more than 20 yuan to more than 500 yuan, and are divided into 4 types: vibration type, percussion type, hybrid type, and speaker type. There are also advertisements on the street for customizable floor shakers. When the author posts an article to the online community, there were many opinions in agreement. Many shared about treatment measures. At the same time, there are also many in-depth analyses of the root causes of the incident. A floor vibrator, also known as a vibration motor, is a type of electronic machine. The divine object that shakes the building will cause a large commotion in the building and is considered the divine object that can deal with the upper and lower floors. Vibration motors were sold by some Taobao stores in 2015 as a device that can be used to handle upper and lower floors. Many stores still sell them, but the sales volume is relatively small. Vibration motor was originally a device used for industrial vibration screening, commonly used in coal mining, metallurgy, stone, building materials, medicine, chemical industry, and other industries. When used, it will cause large vibrations to the building. Floor vibrators are electronic devices used to solve floor problems between households. By contacting the floor or wall, the device will vibrate through the floor and wall, transmitting the vibrations to the upper floor or to the opposite side of the wall without attenuation. Floor vibrating devices will cause slight vibrations on the building's roof, and when combined with special electronic devices, will affect the floor or ceiling upstairs. Harassing targets is just one step in the process of eliminating opposition actors. The Chinese Communist Party has been well trained from the moment it emerged until today. Skilled and sophisticated, diverse and multi-objective methods. This incident of harassment suggested the incident at the US Embassy in Cuba. This is also a phenomenon of harassment. Then the most recent incident was its use in a collision at the central India border. Research on the effects of sound waves and electromagnetic waves on the human body is still very vague and fragmentary. Investment resources for research can only come from corporations and governments. This is a technological secret, a technical secret. The Chinese Communist Party will close the cycle by applying these techniques to the people, which is also applied to the host that nourishes the party. Harassment is simply destroying the subject's will. Physical and mental torment will cause the party's route to expose the truth to come to a dead end. Harassment with a vibrator can cause the subject to have a mental breakdown and trigger suicidal behavior. Incidents of harassment do not only occur in the context of national security. These devices are sold publicly and the buyers are all domestic residents. They buy it to harass others. They torture others, thereby achieving their goals without exchange. Not following traditional culture. Some people say that the Communist Party has stained the Chinese people red. In many respects, that is indeed the case.
EU imposes a 35.3% tax on Chinese electric cars. Beijing immediately retaliates. The European Union's decision to impose tariffs of up to 35.3% on Chinese electric vehicles has angered Beijing after an investigation found that Chinese government subsidies have undermined Europe's auto industry. China slammed the EU's decision on Wednesday, October 30th, saying it does not agree with or accept the ruling and has filed a complaint under the World Trade Organization's WTO dispute settlement mechanism. China will take all necessary measures to firmly safeguard the legitimate rights and interests of Chinese companies, China's Ministry of Commerce said in a statement. The EU's official gazette published the decision on Chinese electric vehicle tariffs on Tuesday, making it formally law and taking effect the next day. The tariff measures will last for 5 years. These are proportionate and targeted measures taken after a rigorous investigation to safeguard fair market practices and Europe's industrial base. EU Trade Commissioner Valdis Dombrovskis, Executive Vice President of the European Commission, said on Tuesday, "We welcome competition, including in electric vehicles, but it must be based on a level playing field," he added. The tariffs will be on top of the existing 10% import tax on electric vehicles and will eventually reach a maximum of 45.3% after adding up general tariffs. Specifically, the EU's tariffs on Chinese manufacturers are 17% for BYD, 18.8% for Geely, and 35.3% for China's state-owned SAIC. Geely owns brands such as Polestar and Sweden's Volvo, while SAIC owns Britain's MG, one of Europe's best-selling electric car brands. The additional tariffs also apply to cars made in China by foreign companies, such as Tesla, which faces a 7.8% tariff. The tariff measures were voted on earlier this month, with 10 countries in favor, 5 against, and 12 abstentions. Germany and Hungary strongly opposed it, fearing that it would anger China and trigger a fierce trade war. France welcomed the EU's decision. The CCP took the opportunity to take retaliatory actions. Reuters reported that Beijing has ordered Chinese automakers to stop investing in European countries that support the imposition of additional tariffs in order to further divide Europe. On October 8th, China announced that it would impose high deposits on EU brandy imports and also launched anti-subsidy and anti-dumping investigations into EU dairy and pork products. The trade tensions between China and Europe are not limited to electric vehicles. Brussels is also investigating China's subsidies for solar panels and wind turbines. In addition, Canada and the United States have recently imposed tariffs of up to 100% on Chinese electric vehicles, indicating that Western countries are jointly pressuring China's auto industry. China-South Korea technology war intensifies. China arrests South Korean chip engineer. Chinese authorities confirmed on Tuesday, October 29th, that they had detained a South Korean chip engineer on charges of espionage. The move intensified the technology war between China and South Korea over the key semiconductor industry. Yonhap news agency quoted diplomats as saying that the engineer, A, is in his 50s and lives in Hefei, Anhui Province, China. He was arrested in December last year. Major Chinese chip companies such as Changshin Storage Technology are headquartered in Hefei. Yonhap news agency reported that A had worked at a Chinese semiconductor company. The Chinese investigation department believes that A leaked the company's semiconductor-related secrets to South Korea. Yonhap news agency and Chosun Ilbo reported that the man was an employee of Samsung Electronics. Lin Jian, a spokesman for the Chinese Foreign Ministry, confirmed the news at a regular press conference, but he did not disclose details. Lin Jian added that the South Korean embassy in China had been notified. A family member told South Korea's national broadcaster KBS on Tuesday that he was detained by the Hefei State Security Department in December. The family received an official notice saying that A was detained on December 18th on suspicion of espionage. The family said A was held in a hotel and interrogated for 5 months, and the Chinese Ministry of State Security took over the case in May this year. The family said A suffers from diabetes and cannot obtain medication. This is the first South Korean national to be detained on espionage charges since the revised Chinese counter-espionage law came into effect in July last year. South Korea's Ministry of Foreign Affairs said it is providing consular services to the engineer and his family. The Chinese Communist Party's comprehensive revision of the counter-espionage law expands the scope of enforcement and prohibits the unauthorized transfer of any so-called documents, data, and information related to national security and interests. Ben Forney, a researcher at Seoul National University, told the Financial Times that, given that Changshin Storage's memory technology lags behind South Korea, it seems unlikely that Mr. A has benefited from leaking trade secrets to South Korean competitors. Forney pointed out that South Korea is carrying out a campaign to crack down on China's acquisition of South Korean technology. Earlier this month, South Korea launched the latest package of measures to detect and punish leaking technology to China. 10 of the 12 such cases registered by the National Police Agency this year were destined for China. Last month, Choi Jin-seok, a former Samsung executive who once ran a Chinese chip manufacturing company, was detained on new charges of stealing chip processing technology. Choi has been the subject of a high-profile industrial espionage trial since July 2023 that highlights South Korea's efforts to combat industrial espionage. Choi denies any wrongdoing. Jaemin Lee, a trade expert at Seoul National University, told the Financial Times, "The competition between South Korea and China in the chip field is intensifying. South Korean companies in industries such as electric vehicle batteries, steel, and petrochemicals have launched legal counterattacks against China's intellectual property theft, stepping up anti-dumping and patent infringement complaints against Chinese competitors. Last week, LG Chem, the parent company of LG Energy Solution, South Korea's leading battery producer, filed a patent infringement lawsuit in Seoul against the South Korean subsidiary of the Chinese battery materials company Ronbei. In addition, the move by China could prevent South Korean companies from investing and operating in China. Previously, an executive of Astellas Pharma was arrested by China on similar charges, leading to the evacuation of Japanese expatriates from China. Analysis from Goldman Sachs. 5 Chinese industries are in serious crisis. Goldman Sachs Group of the United States analyzed the supply and demand trends of solar photovoltaic panels, lithium-ion batteries, air conditioners, electric vehicles, EVs, construction machinery, steel, and power semiconductors in China. Among these, except for steel and power semiconductors, the other 5 industries have fallen into global overcapacity. An excess production capacity will lead to many consequences. When supply significantly exceeds demand, technology dumping or downsizing will inevitably occur, potentially leading to instability and crisis. Japanese media reported that the most serious overcapacity is in solar photovoltaic panels. China's supply capacity has reached 1,036 gigawatts, which is 1.9 times the global demand of 533 gigawatts in 2023. It is expected that China's supply capacity will continue to exceed global demand beyond 2024. Solar photovoltaic panels are a typical equipment industry. The larger the production scale, the lower the unit cost. This was once a field where Japanese companies stood out, but because they could not keep up with the investment competition of Chinese companies, Japanese firms were forced to withdraw from the market. China's global market share has now reached 86%. China's lithium-ion batteries and electric vehicles, which lead the world in technological competition, are also in overcapacity. China's electric vehicle production capacity has reached 1.2 times the global demand for electric vehicles. The supply capacity of lithium batteries is 3.3 times domestic demand and 1.5 times global demand. To cope with the confrontation between China and the United States and increase production capacity in strategic areas, China began promoting expanded investment in high-end manufacturing industries such as electric vehicles and artificial intelligence, AI, in 2023. In this situation, companies have actively invested. Local governments also support these investments by selling land use rights at low prices and providing tax incentives and subsidies. According to estimates by the Center for Strategic and International Studies, CSIS, China issued subsidies totaling about $170 billion between 2009 and 2022.